Michael Holthouse was born in Wyoming and grew up on a small farm in Indiana. The serene Midwestern farm life did not tame the spark within and served as a fertile ground for growing and cultivating his aspirations for success.
My father was very organized, hardworking individual, was very clear about what he was going to get done and systematically made that come true. My mom, she was the dreamer. She was a visionary. She would have all of these ideas. And my mom was absolutely convinced that there was nothing in this world that I couldn't do. And you know, over time, she even convinced me that that was true. And so each of them had their own part in forming kind of how I developed. Part dreamer, part goal setter, and a whole bunch of hard work.
Grandfather Howard Holthouse was a mentor and role model, inspiring Michael to work hard, strive for excellence, and help his fellow men.
My grandfather was a great role model for me. Not only was he a terrific businessman, but really a pillar of the community. Heavily involved in junior achievement and Knights of Columbus and the Kiwanis Club. And you know, interestingly, I guess he gave me my first job. I got paid $1 an hour, which, considering what I was being paid working with my parents, this was a major breakthrough. So I was trimming trees and cutting grass and got to spend many, many hours with him, in which we talked about business and life and serving other people and values. It was an exceptional time for me.
Seeking a last bit of wisdom and inspiration from his beloved grandfather, young Michael asked him prior to his death, "What is the secret to success in life?" The answer came out in one word, which has been the driving force in Michael's life ever since: enthusiasm. Tom and Joy Holthouse raised their 4 children on Midwestern values of hard work and ethics. Starting at a very young age, Michael and his siblings, Deborah, Jeff, and Annette, had contributed their share of work, both in the family farm as well as the family furniture business.
Growing up in small-town Indiana, of course I didn't know any different at the time, was not terribly exciting. Not a lot to do, except for on the small little farm that we lived on outside of Richmond, Indiana. There was plenty to do there. Holthouse Furniture was started by my great-grandfather, an immigrant from Germany, who had a lot of cabinetry skills. And that kind of took hold. And each of his sons were in the business and began growing the business significantly. Before you know it, it had turned into a chain of some 13 different stores in Indiana and Ohio. So in large part, I grew up in the furniture business. So it was very interesting growing up in an entrepreneurial family.
Armed with these values and an inborn drive to succeed, young Michael left home to pursue academic education at the Indiana State University.
Well, I went to Indiana State University on a swimming scholarship. I got a degree in economics and in computer science, but that's really not the education that I got while I was there. It turns out that I became a big fish in a small pond, which was really a great environment for me. I had a chance to work on lots of different things, from officer in my fraternity and interfraternity council. I was a Blue Beret, who's who in American colleges, universities, ran a campus-wide event called Campus Review. It was really an opportunity for me to learn how to communicate with others, how to set goals, how to pull together teams, and accomplish things even as a student.
In his junior year, Michael took a job at the computer department and soon started running the university's computer center, supervising a staff of 26 consultants, leading complicated projects. Upon graduation, ready to pursue his first real full-time job, Michael approached numerous companies, applying for software development positions.
My senior year, I ended up making 17 different plane trips around the country, interviewing for different jobs. but it was a cold, nasty, gray day in Indianapolis, Indiana, when I got on the plane and flew to Houston. Well, got to Houston, it's 75 degrees, beautiful blue skies, and I get into this cab, and it's almost like this was planned. It was one of the prettiest girls I'd ever seen in my whole life. And I'm going, well, if this is Houston, I'm in. There was so much life, so much going on here in the 1980s. I just had to be part of it. And now I'm Houstonian through and through.
After 2 years with oil giant Pennzoil, Michael joined Chromatics, a startup from Atlanta specializing in computer graphics. He then joined Apollo Computers, a startup from Boston, and helped grow its sales from $18 million to $800 million within 5 years. Upon Apollo's sale to Hewlett-Packard, Michael became an executive with HP, but realized that a large corporation was not a good fit for his entrepreneurial spirit. He felt it was time to go on his own.
So I started looking around at what are the different opportunities that are out there. But once I looked at all of the different ones, it really became Paranet that made the most sense, and I thought we could execute the best. And so we finished and fleshed out that plan, and on January 1st of 1991, me and another guy by the name of Steve O started Paranet, and it was rocking ever since.
Paranet Incorporated specialized in management and support of distributed computing networks. In 7 years, Paranet grew to 1,400 employees, with offices in 27 cities across the United States and revenues in excess of $200 million.
Paranet was unique in so many ways, in that the company was really in tune with the timing of the market. So we developed a culture that was really second to none. We were very customer focused, just pure and simple. If you do the right thing for the customer every single time, they never have a reason to go anywhere else. And so we had our own words and our own culture and our own way in which we did things that shone through with every single employee, and our customers could see it. I mean, we were having fun as we were inventing the marketplace. We were completely self-funded. We started in 1991, put a total of $20,000 into the business. We were profitable every single month in the company's history. Heck, the worst year was 110% growth. I mean, we had months in which we were hiring 100 employees all over the country.
If you would have asked any one of them in the hallway in any one of their locations across the country, they would tell you that the culture was the differentiating competitive edge for this company. The passion, the commitment to excellence, the camaraderie, the work hard, play hard. Well, the core values were actually lived, actually adhered to. People were held accountable to live up to the core values. Documentation is a very important part of the technology business. What did you do, and is it well documented so the next person that comes behind can verify that that information was captured accurately? They were really big on that, and they called it the Mack truck test, meaning if you get hit by a Mack truck on your way to work the next morning, can someone else pick right up where you left off? Michael, you have to think of it as it was a maelstrom of talent, and he was square in the center. It's not only his intellect, his ability to see things in a different way and articulate them in a different way and kind of put you back on your heels realizing, wow, what a different way of looking at it. But the emotional intensity that he brings to what he does creates a whole nother dimension.
Paranet was about to start its roadshow to go public when the technology stocks dropped by 30% in 1 week, which made the timing bad for a technology IPO. Paranet decided to postpone its IPO and was contacted by Sprint the following day with an offer to purchase the company. Paranet, which started in 1991 with a capital of $20,000, sold to Sprint in 1997 for $425 million. Michael's tremendous business success did not go unnoticed by the business community. He won numerous awards and recognitions, including Inc. Magazine's Entrepreneur of the Year, Inc. 500, a fastest growing company, Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year, and more. Following a transition period with Sprint, Michael left to start a new business. He also founded Holthouse Interests, a company that helps fund and grow early-stage technology companies.
What do you tell a starting entrepreneur? I guess the first thing is to be very clear about what it is that you want. You've got to set goals and then take a great deal of time making all of the mistakes on paper. So I think it's all about setting very clear goals and having a vision that you can share with your employees and your customers so that you're all working together towards the same thing.
The fortune that came from the sale of Paranet, along with personal tribulations, led Michael to a soul-searching journey that led him to realize that he wants to spend his time and invest in the causes that are close to his heart.
I had accomplished almost everything that I had set out for my life and now had decisions to make about what was I going to do next. So I started looking at what's important to me and why is that important and where should I spend my time. And I read a bunch of different books and the notion of what do you do with the second half of your life. And it became really obvious to me that as much as I enjoyed starting and growing companies, what I really cared about was kids. So we created the Holthouse Foundation for Kids, which does proactive programs focused on at-risk kids, and became an incubator, if you would, in which we would look at other organizations and invest resources in them to help them grow capacity. And we ultimately created a group called Prepared for Life, which really encapsulate what I think the rest of my life is all about. And that's a vision of helping the youth of our community, and in some cases the nation, not get prepared to take tests, but really prepared for the rest of their life, to take ownership of their own lives and become real contributing members of society. And what an exciting vision that is.
The Holthouse Foundation for Kids started in 1999 with a $20 million commitment from Michael, gives annually over $1 million to help different projects and organizations that proactively support at-risk kids.
Michael got involved with the Boys and Girls Club, 7 or 8 years ago. He became a member of our board. And at that time, we were having an issue with a new club that we were getting ready to open, and he basically saved that club. And he provided the resources for us to open that site in the East End, and it is actually called the Holthouse Boys and Girls Club. It's unusual to find someone of Michael's stature who not only has financial resources, but also has the passion and really understands what we're trying to do. And he spends his time now, and has now for several years, in doing his own personal research, looking at what the needs of the community are in Houston, and making sure that these kind of things happen for these kids.
That's why we created Prepared for Life, an after-school program that focuses on life skills, character education, and entrepreneurship. And as many of you will know, Lemonade Day flowed right out of that, which is now this citywide event where this year we'll literally have 10,000 lemonade stands touching over 30,000 children in our community, all teaching them how to start, own, and operate their very own lemonade business.
We had our daughter and a friend who wanted to have a lemonade stand one Sunday afternoon, as probably 95% of most children do. And he just decided to turn it into a major learning lesson. And so They talked about, investors and how are you gonna get the money to do this, to start your lemonade, and well, where do you want to do it, and why do you choose that spot? Is that really the best spot? Do people slow down at that corner? And so site location was important. And do you want to have an employee? Or are you going to be partners? I mean, he just started turning this fun little family activity into a major learning experience for her. And once it was all said and done, and once she absorbed all this information and not only had a blast, he just envisioned all these families out there in the city who probably go out every Sunday afternoon and do stands with their kids, but they don't turn it into a real experiential learning project. And so that's really how it started, with this vision of let's teach all the other families in Houston this special gift that we've just given our child, who will probably take that with her for the rest of her life.
About 10 years ago at the museum, it was really a pivotal point in the history of the museum. We were trying to decide how we could best serve Houston, and we were looking for innovative leaders with big ideas who could make things happen. And understandably, Mike's name was at the top of that list. I was really impressed with what Mike had in his mind. He already was beginning to envision a Houston that would have the kinds of opportunities that he had when he was a child, the same kinds of challenges and the same kinds of opportunities for success. I saw in Michael at that time a man who was convinced that any child could have any level of success that they could dream. And I could also see in Michael a person who wanted to facilitate that.
And getting a divorce, that opened up the door for me to meet the most amazing human being I've ever met, my wife, Lisa. And we have built a family that's so cool. We're one of those his, her, and ours kind of deals. I have an 18-year-old son, two 12-year-old daughters who are just thick as thieves. They're terrific. One of mine and one of Lisa's, and now they're both mine. And together we now have a 2-year-old son, Hudson, which is just the greatest thing that's ever happened. The spirit, and he's so alive. He's gonna keep me young whether I like it or not.
Michael Holthaus, a passionate entrepreneur and philanthropist, cultivating Houston's future, one child at a time. A journey from success to significance.